In this lesson, we're going to cover the orientation to your abdominal cavity, the connection to your breath and your pelvic health, and I'm also going to introduce this concept of interoception. Here is a simplified diagram of your abdominal cavity. A few things I'd like you to notice. The first is that this abdominal cavity sits on top of your pelvis. Second is that you can think of the abdominal cavity like a can or a canister. The top of that can is going to be the respiratory diaphragm, and the bottom of that can is the pelvic floor muscles. They are going to work in concert with each other. So when the diaphragm goes up, the pelvic floor muscles are going to go up. And when the diaphragm goes down, the pelvic floor muscles go down. This will become very important as we do more training in the future. The other thing you can notice is the muscles in the front, which are the transverse abdominis, and the muscles in the back, which are the multifidus. Let's look at that pelvic breath a little more closely. When you inhale, the respiratory diaphragm will go down, your belly will go out to take in the air, and then your muscles of your pelvic floor will also go down. When you exhale, everything is going up. So the pelvic floor muscles are going up, the belly is going in, and the respiratory diaphragm is going up so that you can exhale. This is called a diaphragmatic breath, if you're familiar with that. And what you'll find is when we include the pelvic floor, that may be no big deal for you and you understand, or you're going to start to realize like, I don't actually do it that way. And I might be doing it opposite, or I'm incoordinated, or I'm just not understanding what Chris is saying. And that's all fine. That's actually what we're practicing. And there are many women who find that they are what we call reverse breathers. So this is an opposite action, especially at their pelvic floor, or their breath is always so high up in their chest that they're not really incorporating both the abdominal cavity and the pelvic floor. Now I know you may be asking, Chris, why are you asking me to think about my breath? I am trying to learn about my pelvis. And what I say back to you is that your breath is closely connected with your pelvis. If you are not doing a pelvic or diaphragmatic breath at least some part of the day, you could be pushing down on your pelvic floor muscles all day long. Therefore, they are tired. They are not going to be able to work in the way that you want them to work, especially if, say, you sneeze or you cough. Think of how much pressure, added pressure, that is going to put on your pelvic floor. If it's been working super hard all day long, it is going to be more difficult for it to be able to work when you have those extra internal abdominal pressure coming in through coughing, sneezing, or laughing. So practice this breath with me. Before we practice the pelvic breath, I have one more concept that I want to introduce, and that is the concept of interoception. Interoception is when we listen to our body. And this is usually done by, quite honestly, moving away from our thoughts and what's in our brain and listening to the body. The body has its own language. It is usually through sensations. Sometimes it can be through intuition. And if you look at the list, you can see that many of the things that we're looking for, whether it's we're looking into our breathing, our bowel needs, our urination needs, it is under this concept of interoception. So we will be practicing this as we continue to do both our pelvic breath and we start to look into relaxing and strengthening our pelvic floor muscles.